Be here tonight,
Okay.
but we've got a quorum. All right. So, just so you know, we are recorded,
Okay, terrific.
occasionally broadcast live.
I was not told that
Wow.
when I began.
Was
Was I supposed to look at the minutes online or something?
Next time.
We'll get to that.
Okay,
All right. So we're ready.
that means no, that's good.
All right. So this is the regular meeting of the Woodbridge Conservation Commission. Today is April 20th, 2017. As always, we'll start our meeting with public comments. As usual, no public comments, so we will move on.
As usual, we've had public comments a couple times lately.
Yes.
We had a lot of Boy Scouts.
We did?
That was exciting. The next on the agenda is to review and approve the minutes of March 26, 2017 meeting. I don't think we actually got those circulated. I'm looking at you.
I'm looking, you mean I didn't circulate them?
Did you get them?
Didn't I? I did it right away this time.
I looked, I couldn't find them.
Oh,
Anyway,
okay.
we will
I could
table
provide
that.
it if you want.
Okay.
For the next
We'll
time.
table that. I swear I did it right away.
Are you taking the minutes?
No, Betsy is.
Oh, okay.
But
Sorry. In
last
my
time I did.
absence. I'm sorry about that.
In her absence, I did. And I obviously need to be fired.
One of us does. You might have sent it to me and I forgot to pass them along.
I
All right, next on the agenda is to get an update on the 2017 trail walks. So in March, or was it the beginning of April? It was the beginning of April. We sort of were mushy in terms of what we were doing. But Frank, you were participating in a trail walk, was the beginning of April.
I was going to
yeah?
do May. I was going to do May.
But I'm thinking
The watershed,
the watershed.
Oh, we had a
Coalition.
watershed
Was
coalition.
that the beginning of
walk,
April? That was
yes.
the beginning of April?
which
Or
I
end of March?
thought was
yeah.
our walk. because
Right.
I'm,
April 8th,
to be
yeah.
fired
And
once again.
So it wasn't an official
Lauren was
Conservation
well,
Commission
yeah.
walk,
But
but
I didn't know that, so I asked Tracy.
and Tracy,
to come.
I'm
we're
glad
good
I
enough
went.
to
I
come.
asked Gary to come.
Yeah.
I asked
Good.
Julie to come.
So-
Yeah.
Yeah, it
so
was
Frank,
Sorry.
fun
while
walk.
Yeah. 'cause
while
I
it's
thought
not
it
an
was
official Conservation Commission trail walk, I thought it was worth at least mentioning and having you speak briefly upon what that walk was, because it is significant to the town.
It was a walk from Pond Lily by Walgreens Pharmacy up to Knowles Pond. And the reason for the walk was because we try and encourage the Department of Transportation to provide a multi-purpose trail for bikes and pedestrians along Raleigh Avenue, Litchfield Turnpike, when they do that new exit 59. You know, we're trying to get them to include that in the exit 59 plans. So we had some representatives come, and we're trying to nudge them to try to kind of talk to the DOT and see if we can get something a little larger than a sidewalk, so we possibly get a safer pedestrian pass from New Haven into Woodbridge, and also the bike people are very interested in it. So.
Yes.
And we got about 40 people, 40 people. There was a lot of people
Wow,
there.
that was
Yeah,
an excellent
it was
turnout.
good. It was a good group.
And did you get representatives from the state at that meeting?
No, we got town representatives.
Town.
Beth Heller came from Woodbridge, and we had people from New Haven. We had Pat Dillon came from New Haven.
Okay.
So
All
we
right.
did,
Shinsky from
and actually, Spencer Rubin, who works for one of our other representatives, Thomas Clarity's came also. So we had a few reps.
And Mary Mashinsky from Wallingford.
Yeah, oh, that's right. Mary Mazinski came from Wallingford. Yeah, so we had a few representatives there.
Right.
So people showed up for it. There was a lot of interest.
Very good.
Yeah,
Glad to hear that.
I think
There's
it
that
was,
article in the New Haven Independent. Did you send that to
Yeah.
us?
Yeah, I had come across that. Well,
yeah,
eating lunch
we
or
got a
something.
little press time too. Yeah, it was fun. It was a fun time.
Good.
It was cold when it began. It was a little cold. Then it warmed up.
Yes, it was
windy.
breezy too.
Well, yeah,
That day. It was a windy
It was
day.
sort of windy.
It's fantastic. So, looking ahead, and I've been a little lax in keeping names to dates, unfortunately. in May, in a couple weeks, Tracy, you volunteered to lead a walk at the country club.
Yeah, I said Saturday, but I can't do Saturday. I mean, if you want to do that day, I can do early June, or I can do Sunday.
I don't know. Did Tom do? Did anybody do anything in April?
No.
Oh, okay.
So
No.
Well,
That's why I got mixed up and thought that was the walk.
Yeah.
I can do May 7th, although you said you can't make it that day. I've never walked the property. I have no idea where I'm going or what I'm doing, so I would need a little guidance.
Well, you can't get too lost on it.
But you said it was a 5-mile walk last time, and you wanted to shorten it this time, so I guess I want some guidance on how that would be, so we're not off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So this would be the weekend of May 6th, 7th, and you said 7th, the
7th.
Sunday.
Yep, at
Is-
10.
Better. Sunday at 10. And what was the... Why couldn't I make
so that would be the 7th.
Can't go. I can't go.
But I know that there is interest in the community to walk it and have exposure to the property. But Tracy, if you're not comfortable leading the
Yeah,
walk,
I'll do it. You give me a little guidance. Show me a map.
Absolutely.
That'll be good.
It's easy. It's very
I
informal.
can help you. I know Karen said she
Yeah.
can go. I
Alright,
can't
so we
go.
can team it up if you want.
Yeah, there you go.
Great.
You could team up. It's a very informal walk. It's mostly just having one point of contact to gather the people together and just walk. People will talk amongst themselves. The idea is a good time. It's not an official Conservation Commission meeting. It's not a special meeting. It's just a community walk. And we're the ones just organizing it. And we're just facilitators for it. So
All right.
um, there's no particular rules around it.
Great.
So
May 7th. Or wait, is it May
May 7th.
Yeah, that's right. I'll be fine.
7th? Okay.
I'm fine.
Okay, good.
Now this is where the planning in my head seems to fall apart. So looking ahead to June, July, August, September.
We don't have people until October with you
Okay,
from the
so
Sorrow family.
Don't we do June with Racebook though?
Yeah, we
That's
need
right.
to do it, but
All
we
right.
didn't say who's doing what.
I'll get a hold of Sharon at the Orange Conservation Commission, and I'll have to look up the date. But there's usually a Trails Day sponsored by the state in
It's usually the
early
first
June.
weekend.
If it's June 4th, I won't be available, but we'll see where it lands. And I don't have to be there.
You do.
I'm not trying to bow out.
You have to be at every single.
Oh my gosh, the pressure. So we'll do that joint walk for June. Is there interest for July, August, or September?
I could do Bishop East in July.
Okay.
It's gonna be warm. It's a nice walk by the water.
Do we have a date
Yeah.
or a
You can
little-
always say it and then.
Right.
Well, usually the first weekend is what we try to get.
July 1st?
Yeah, when?
Like,
Well,
where-
Not the 4th of July weekend. How about that?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
What does Saturday fall on?
July,
Wanna do the one
the 1st or the
that's-
8th, so probably the
one
8th.
that, Golden Bridges up there.
Probably the 8th, right?
Yes.
Let's do the
That's
8th.
the Bladensbrook
Yeah.
Thank
Swamp.
you.
That's actually part of,
Well, Baldwinsbrook's on the bottom, you know.
What
sort of
time
on
do you
top.
like?
yeah, where you go across the
Yeah.
boardwalk through the swamp, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
We can maybe do that one
You want to do that one?
in August. Is it too hot? You think it's,
August can get a little
yeah, it's maybe too
tricky
hot.
and sticky and steamy,
Yeah, so that's probably.
but September,
Okay, I'll do September. I
like
can
to-
do that one, yeah.
we should do September.
Yeah.
I think it's called Brussels Sprout.
We should figure out times too.
Did you know
I didn't.
And again, not Labor Day
The
weekend.
swamps
probably
had
the following
names
weekend.
actually.
that? Yes, probably not Labor Day weekend.
Okay.
Although the Massaro family, the Massaro dinner on the farm has always been on Labor Day weekend, and it's done great.
That's how we usually
Go
do
figure.
that on Labor Day.
Go figure. All right. So September. 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've got 5 on the calendar at this point. November starts getting a little chilly, but it's still possible. No one's chomping at the bit right now to speak up for November or December. We'll leave them empty at the moment. Very good.
Okay.
All right. So Tracy, I'll get you up to speed on a map.
Sounds good.
Because the one that I did, had everybody walk all the holes, and it was about 5 miles.
Yeah.
Now you can kind of cut that in half and just almost do
Just
a
do half the
circuitous
holes.
loop right through it and hit most of the highlights.
Alright.
Yeah.
Right, I would think there are certain highlights, and so if you could just point out where would be the.
Yeah. All right. Next on the agenda is our open space plan. Dragging this across the goal line. And this is where I expect to spend most of our meeting tonight. So I did get revisions. Frank, I had incorporated, you had a giant chunk for the West River Greenway
Right.
that I had incorporated. And then very early this afternoon, I circulated it to everybody, very last minute. And then there have been some other suggested edits. I have some here in front of me from Tom, who's not here today. Tom's changes were fairly minor. One of them was to change streamway to waterway. He says waterway is described in the law. He could not find reference to a streamway. That sounds like a valid
Mm-hmm. Sure.
thing. If there's a legal definition for a waterway, then
Yeah.
go with it. He noted a misspelling
Sure.
of Woodbridge. He noted that Knoll's Pond is spelled with and without an
It
apostrophe.
should, because there was 3 Knowles brothers, so it was Knowles Pond, I think, referring to the brothers, so it should have the apostrophe. He's right.
Okay, so we have to work on the consistency, because
Right.
that's been an issue, right?
And where should the apostrophe be? At the end of
Is
the S?
was their name Knold or was their name Knolds? Right, that would be determining factor of.
No, they were the Knowles without the S. The Knowles brothers without the S. There was
The
no
last
S
name
in
was
their name.
Knoll.
So it was
Yeah, but
Knowles.
plural Knowles apostrophe
with the
would be
apostrophe.
the.
After the S.
Yeah.
So-
Knoll's pond?
Huh.
So their last name was Knold.
All right.
Yeah,
So you
Okay.
go
those
to
are
it.
the ones that.
So it's apostrophe S.
Yes, apostrophe S,
Okay.
correct. Tom's correct, yes.
I thought multiples was after the S.
Isn't there a possessive?
They had the ice
versus-
factory there in the 1800s.
Sorry.
I'm
Okay.
not an English.
Sounds good.
That's good.
Sounds good.
I agree with Tracy.
Is anyone an English major?
No, but I know what she means.
And he also picked up on another misspelling. So clearly this needs to get run through spell check because my copying and pasting is haphazard. All
It's
right.
been going on for years.
Julie, you said that you had,
I did, but I don't know where it is.
oh my gosh.
This has no apostrophe at all.
Right.
Well, that's Google.
So?
I don't know. Google doesn't believe in punctuation.
Why would it be if I opened it, I sent it to myself and
Knoll's Pond
opened it
is a
on my
lake.
own computer just to make
1.5
sure
miles
that you
from
got
Woodbridge.
it?
Uh-huh.
And when I
No
opened it,
apostrophe.
all my changes were on there. But now I'm opening it on
That's-
here and the
Same
I
for
don't
me.
see changes.
Same for me.
Same for you too?
iPad.
Like there's nothing on there.
I had trouble
Any-
with the whole thing. I have
Yeah.
an older version of Word, and I had a lot of trouble, with Word and with that. So.
Well,
Read it.
Julie, do you remember vaguely where?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
it was,
edits were-
but seriously, it was just, remember we said, I promised I would change
Yeah.
open space to appropriate open space, so
Oh.
that's all it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything big, and I can just redo it when I go home. It took, I know what I did.
All right. To make open space consistent.
Yeah,
right.
that's all. And
Okay.
then there were a couple of little tiny things, nothing, it was all grammatical, it wasn't any content.
Okay. Tracy, you said some.
Not big, but there were just a few of them that I can't remember off the top of my head. I could go through and try to read this, but that would be slower, I think, than, do you have what I emailed you?
I do have what you emailed me, and I'm trying to pick pick it up on track changes.
Oh, it's not showing you the track changes either?
Well, it is, but it's also, I mean, it's highlighting a whole paragraph. So did you edit the Connecticut General Statutes
Wanna sit here,
paragraph?
Grace, and see?
Okay.
No.
Wanna sit here and see? Switch.
Wait a minute.
For a minute.
I'll be really for a minute.
So the changes that I had made earlier in the day,
It doesn't show up on yours either.
was that I had
I didn't do that.
put the Connecticut General Statutes, I had moved them out of the piece that Frank had sent because they were down in the West River piece, and it just seemed more sensible to put it, the introductory paragraph to both Woodbridge and West River Greenways. So it was capturing
Yeah.
both.
Did you write yours?
I didn't actually do anything.
Did you write
here.
yours?
I did it
Yeah.
down in the watershed area. That's the only place I
Okay.
did it.
want to print it out because there's so many
Yeah.
pages, so I tried to do it.
So this I squeezed onto a single page.
And
I don't know what I did wrong.
it,
Oh, this was
it has the edits, but it doesn't show you them.
What it was, but.
Because you can see here, there was a space.
your
where-
Yeah, see, this part here is about a green day where it's defined.
Oh, wow.
I didn't want to get, in the first
Yeah, so I,
draft of this, I only put like this first sentence because I didn't
wait,
want
one more meeting.
want
is that
to
how I read them?
double up on what was already said
It's
about
not wrong,
Greenway
that's just-
and the Woodbridge Greenway. So,
Just
you
the
know,
connections.
If you were to summarize,
we could
the
just
changes-
eliminate that and have it,
Summarize
and
the
have it, and
changes.
What would you say your changes had
Just
consisted
the-
of?
Non-substantive technical changes that improved flow and, you know, of the sentences, you know.
All right, so they were just punctuation and grammar. There was not
Right.
substantive content changes.
No content changes at all.
okay, well, why don't we just have you do those punctuation changes then, and
Because So I guess what I would like to do tonight is approve this contingent upon
right, that's
Julie's
what I'm
open
saying.
space consistency changes and Tracy's punctuation changes.
That should be
Yeah.
lowercase and that should be capital.
All right, so okay. One of her examples is upper and lowercase on a couple words.
Okay,
So
fine.
it does seem a non-substantive changes.
That's basically,
So I
Just
think
to-
so long as there's nothing glaringly wrong, like we need to cut a whole section or this entire paragraph has no meaning for where it is.
Just try to help the flow so you could understand, you know,
Sure.
where we were
Okay,
describing.
all right.
That makes sense.
Well, this could be a very short conversation then, which would be fantastic.
Well, we've gone over it and over and over. It's
I
not
know, that's why I'm trying to.
Right, no, but I mean,
Drag
it's
it
not
across
like,
the finish
right,
line.
that's terrific, good job.
Are there any other, I know you're just jumping into the game, but this is also a good time to jump into the game so you can get that initial review of the open
Okay,
space
I see what
plan
we did.
and then seeing it in its final draft.
I read through it, yeah. That's great.
It looks sensible. Actually, it's good to have a complete outsider look at it right now because
Yeah,
that's the
with fresh
intent.
eyes.
It looks great. It looks very
So I just kind of
Together?
official, yeah.
Okay.
It's- Yeah, professional.
Just needs to be one word.
Yeah, which can converge with future
All right.
choice. Yeah, okay, sure.
Good
I
job.
mean, it's the same,
Whoever wrote it, it's
meaning.
really, it's a lot of work.
It's been a
It looks
collaborative
like
effort
you-
over the years.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it looks like
We
you-
leveraged a lot from
I was
the
looking for a
prior
word like
document
that.
as well, from
You did.
2003.
And I
So
thought the
it's-
map was pretty
we're
good
of the same
too,
mind.
like,
It's fine, really.
because that's, I can
Currently
understand
have to,
that.
which is
Yeah.
great.
It was, that helped a lot.
Good,
Excellent.
good. Okay,
Okay, I've already seen the change, most of it.
excellent. All right, well, that being said,
There we go.
is there a motion?
I can make a motion.
Please make a motion.
So I make a motion that we approve the open space, Woodbridge open space plan contingent upon the small grammatical or spelling check. Does
All
that
right. Okay.
make sense?
I will second that.
Okay, great.
Can I request one little change? And I haven't seen, this is the one that you sent a few days ago. I hadn't seen any of the following ones.
Yep.
On page 13, it said the town has been in contact with the DOT.
No, that's out.
That's a, oh, okay, I just wanted to clarify that that's,
Because it
technically-
wasn't pertinent.
got it, okay.
It's something.
Oh, was that in the West River section?
Yeah,
Okay.
took that
Yeah,
out.
it was,
Okay.
it was, but
That's-
it wasn't pertinent, so I just removed the whole.
got it.
Okay.
Okay,
We completely took
It was
it out.
about, it was about trying to get that,
yeah, what you were just
the
talking about.
pervious
sidewalk.
surface, some help with the pervious
Yeah.
surface greenway along Pond Lily.
Okay.
But that's all that was about that time.
But
There
it's
was
all
something
out,
about the
it's
town of
all out.
Woodbridge in it, but,
Okay. So never mind.
okay, so
Other discussion around the
I think
document?
we're good on that, Betsy.
Well, with that being said, all in favor of the 2017 open space plan? Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Love it. Okay.
Okay, great.
Can we nitpick a little more?
And here I
We
thought
got
this
it
was.
done in 2017, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have to change the year.
And this motion was
Again.
made contingent on Tracy's grammatical changes and your,
Julie's open.
Also,
Like spelling, you know.
so grammatical.
Capitalization,
Got it,
yeah.
okay.
Yep. Oh, I should also put our names on it. Unless we'd all like to be anonymous and
Yeah,
just
I
be
was gonna say.
drafted by the Woodbridge
We,
Conservation
put our
Commission is
names
fine.
on it.
Good to have your name on stuff
Sure,
sometimes.
absolutely.
All right.
Little legacy.
So next on the agenda is to talk about the property rating scales and systems. Now, we started this discussion at our last meeting, and the intent of these scales and rating systems is to be able to look at properties in town that are of interest for acquisition, give them an objective assessment using a clearly defined rating system, score them, and then be able to say, this one has a higher score than this, these are the reasons why, and that's why we recommend purchasing X, Y, or Z parcel. We've leveraged the prior work done by other commissions. We looked at Stonington, Connecticut, we looked at, I think, Guilford, we looked at Madison. We also looked at the state of Delaware had a very
Yeah.
thorough one. So, coming out of the last meeting, it was my task to come up with an amalgamation of what we liked about all of them. So we liked the fact that there were weighted scales. We liked the fact that things had very objective and clear definitions. Something to avoid was scenic value, because scenic means different things to different people. So that's a tough.
sorry, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Siri. So scenic is a sort of a wishy-washy term, so we tried to get more concrete with the definitions. And so I had put this together in Excel and circulated it to everybody. I think
Looks good.
everybody had a chance to get a look at it. I also have comments here from Tom, even though he's not here.
I have a question.
Perfect. Lead us off.
I just, can someone define early successional habitat percent cover? I just don't know what that means.
So successional cover, let me just open up the document in front of me here. So do we have it clearly defined in the criteria? Let's first check that. No, it's just, okay, so we would like a definition to make that more clear. So if a forest is taken down, and now you've got saplings coming up, that's early successional.
Okay.
Think of it as what also the Water Authority is doing in a lot of their parcels. They're taking down a bunch, they're not clear cutting the forest, but they're taking down a lot of older trees to allow new growth to come up. So they're artificially encouraging succession. And of course, that'll bring different habitats because different creatures live in old growth forests versus younger new successional forests. So that's, I think, the intent. So if there's a property that's been recently cut and it's slowly growing back, this is the percentages. So if it was 100% cut and it's now succession, I think the score in this one example was 3.
Thank you.
Tom's comments. Let's see, he likes the rating key, but he asks that we move. So we look at the rating sheet. We have primary, secondary, and tertiary criteria. He asked that we move the habitat of conservation concern from secondary to primary and change it to species and habitats of conservation concern. And he provided a link to a report on the Connecticut DEP website. And he suggests moving the early successional habitat percentage down to secondary.
Like, I don't know enough about this to know which one is more important for what we need.
Right. Well, and that's something that I think we're all going to digest and try to figure out over the next few meetings.
Okay.
So the initial stroke was try to take a look at what our open space plan says is important to us, and then say which were primary, which are secondary, and which are tertiary. When I put this together, I tried to balance it out so that there were an equal number of items in each. I didn't want... So there's a total of 20 criteria. I didn't want to have 19 as primary. I tried to spread it and balance it a little bit. And I did look at the open space plan and tried to squish it around a little bit. But it's tough to say. This isn't quite so important, so we'll push it to tertiary.
Okay.
Right.
So it's part of reflecting upon what the town has done in the past, what the community has spoken out about in your experiences, what you've seen in public comments and gatherings around town. When you walk the country club with folks, what are they talking about? What do they seem to be most interested in? I think that information should be digested and reflected back onto something like this.
And when we think about plants and animals and habitats of conservation concern and early successional habitat, do you think there's some overlap in those categories? Or redundancy?
So the specific one that says plants and the specific one
Yeah.
that says animals, and how that compares to the habitat.
Yeah.
I think that, plants is plants, animals is animals, right? So if there were no animals there, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
So it's more, and the habitat is of conservation concern is different than sort of quantifying the plants there and animals there. as
For
opposed to-
example, let's say the rattlesnakes or copperheads or whatever lives in West Rock, that would fall under animals. Now they do have a habitat as well that could be of concern for protection, so that would be their habitat of conservation concern. So there would be two criteria, but they do mingle. You're right. It is sometimes difficult to
Wouldn't the
split them
habitat
apart.
be the environment that the animals live in, more or less?
Yeah. Can't have one
Well,
without the
yeah,
other.
like with
Kind of
those,
more of the
they're probably at risk. So conservation concern is probably higher because if the rattlesnakes are at risk, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah. And I had lifted the language from that Delaware plan where they had called out S1 species documented on site. We need to come up with clarity of what that means in our term. But I liked that it was very concrete. This list of species in this category. That way we know what we're talking about. And it's not just some
bears.
endangered. What does that really mean? Is
Yes
it-
and no,
bobcats.
because you want to leave it open to interpretation in case, because things do change. And
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking as you talk that yes, we should leave plants and animals, and I agree that makes sense. But I don't know that we want such a list, because that list could go on forever or be short, and like I said, things change.
Yeah, and I think we should allow the state to set the definitions, or even the federal government to say, like, we shouldn't decide that the barred owl in Woodbridge is endangered. We're tiny,
Yeah, we don't
Town.
know, right.
and animals travel more than just our town. So
Yes.
looking to a bigger power for defining what's endangered
Mhm.
is probably a better idea,
Mhm.
I think.
What I've heard a lot is people's concern that if the country club is just left to do whatever it would do on its own without any upkeep or maintenance, people are worried about that. I don't know what that's called, but so,
Neglect.
yes, well. But I mean, what happens when it happens, like comes overgrown or those
Right.
invasive plants, all that, people are worried about that.
It'll
From
become
the little, people that talk to me about it.
Well, so we have to make sure if people have access to it or not, because like if it becomes
Well, that's what I mean,
dilapidated,
yeah.
then there could be liability in terms of something falls on the
Hmm.
step or something like that. So if you're gonna, right,
Promote it as
And-
open space, that
and-
has to be.
I know what you're talking about, Lauren. I don't know the
Yeah.
term,
Yeah.
but yeah.
right. One of the things I liked about this was I think that was in here use of property. There was something about on-site buildings. Because this is always keen for me is should the town be looking at properties with buildings because of exactly what you just said, liability,
That's- it's
neglect, and that
Maintenance.
potential. So
Maintenance besides the
Maintenance.
liability. Look at those ones
Yeah.
we were gonna try to restore.
yeah,
And if it was just a field, it's easy. We can just, have somebody mow it twice a year until figure out, but with all these little things, I think it's harder, to make sure
yep.
there's no safety issues.
I was wondering if size of property should be up there.
And where do you set the delineations, right?
Yeah, that
so
too.
size
That
on the criteria we had it as 50 acres and then 25 to 49, 11 to 24, 1 to 10, less than 1. I think in Delaware they were much bigger. I had knocked them down to something a little more reasonable for the size of our town, but maybe knowing what's still left in the town in terms of whole properties that have not been divided, maybe we scale those down. Although I did see a property for sale on Beecher, 35 acres.
I saw that sign too.
Yeah.
What are they talking about?
I think it's way off the road.
Oh.
How many acres? I didn't.
35.
Wow.
I
That's
think
a big
even if
chunk.
we didn't define it, its relationship to these other criteria, such as proximity to preserved land, because maybe it would be a very small property, but it's adjacent to already preserved land, so that would make it worthwhile. Whereas if it was on a little island by itself, it wouldn't be.
Yep.
So
Yeah, like
it's
if it was connected to the greenway, it would be more
Right.
valuable.
right.
A location of, yeah.
Again, I think if you define too much, that can be problematic too. But I think, for look at these criteria for the time period of the acquisition.
Yeah.
Maybe we should take it to
Oh, you do have that
property.
all criteria. There you go.
Take it to a property and do it and see if it works.
Tap on the all criteria.
You mean
That's what
try
I'm-
it?
I think that's what
Yeah.
I'm on.
Yeah, test it.
Oh,
There you go.
wow.
So it sounds, just from this discussion, it sounds like we're actually not too far off in terms of what has been most important
Mhm.
for folks.
How can we do that? Like do it, like bring it and go there? How do we have to do that? Or organize a special meeting or something?
In the past, so the idea is to take this rating sheet and then visit a property and rate it. And there'll be additional documentation when you're rating a property. There'll be maps, wetland maps, topographical maps. There'll probably be information about the deed of the current deed of the property, the current owner, maybe even some history about what the property is. So there'll be more to it than just this. In the past, it's been work divided up among members. So one member will be assigned parcel A, another person will be assigned parcel B. So it'll be a very individual investigation. My personal preference would be to have at least 2 people look at a single piece, just to get more than one opinion Because if you go by yourself and you come back with your findings, that's your opinion and
Right.
it's valid, but I think it's important to have more than one view on.
But it's,
on a piece.
I'm not saying to necessarily,
To see if,
Do
the-
it,
if,
but to
if
see
this
if
is
this-
adequate,
Right.
to see if this
How
is
this
comprehensive,
applies.
Yeah.
how it fits into what we have. Just to try it on one. I don't know.
My other thought is to try it on things we already own.
Maybe we should all
Yeah.
go
Okay.
and do one and make sure everyone understands how to do it and everybody's on the same page. So if you do send, but I do think sending 2 people is a good idea.
Yeah. Maybe taking a look at recent town acquisitions, going back, when I say recent, I mean, let's say go back 20 years. Things move slowly in the town. we
and
know this.
you mean take it and use what they.
And
they
pretend
use. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
the town
Combine.
will be acquiring or interested in acquiring. Like
Mhm.
for the example, the Racebrook tract parcels. The town acquired them in several stages, but that happened just about 10 years ago.
Mhm.
Look at it from a point of view. There's a trail walk at Racebrook tract on June something
Mhm.
this year with the Orange Conservation Commission. We'll do a walk there. And it could be just an informal exercise
Mhm.
among members of the Conservation Commission that are
Yeah.
attending the walk.
That's a good idea.
Similarly, I'll say it, Country Club. There was a reason that the town bought it. I think we're all well aware of it. But if it was looked at from a ratings perspective, using this type of a scale, how would it stand?
What the answer to-
Open space, right.
It's a live wire to touch. Another parcel is, and it's in current discussions, is the 31 Enoch Drive property that was purchased by
Yeah,
the
we
town
talked about
in
that.
'99.
But
Consider,
by the same token, I had a discussion with Mike Walters about the ratings, and
yeah,
he said when he was on the commission, they didn't want to get over enthusiastic about ratings because they might pass up a property because it didn't rate like a number 1 on the list. So we have to, be a little milder in our assessments in that respect. I mean, if a good property comes along, but it's not number 1 or number 2, are we going to pass it up?
right.
So there was a concern about that. To not be extra critical about in our ratings either, because this is Woodbridge. Most of our land in our open space is pretty pristine. I mean, other than maybe some Enoch Drive property or something of that sort, but most of it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So, any other discussion about arrangement of things into primary, secondary, or tertiary? I don't want to have us
I feel
decide
like
everything
I
now,
need
but
to try it
but
out and
Maybe
see.
we should go. Maybe we should go, and then as we assess it, we can really figure out: is this useful? Is this effective? Is this working? You know what I
Mhm.
mean? We can look at the property and say, maybe we need to add this or take that away, or it makes sense as we do it.
all right. So maybe some homework for the two of you
Mhm.
Yeah.
is when you do the walk.
Yeah,
Oh.
maybe we
Print
can
this
use
out.
the sheet and say, okay, oh no, it's missing this or it's missing that, or we think this is great or whatever.
Right.
So we actually use it because that's the best way.
I know it takes away some of the fun of the walk.
When you have to think about stuff.
No, I think that's.
Darn.
I'm happy to do that. Yeah, and then we can
Yeah.
come back and talk to you about if it's.
Yeah, because I think it's a totally different experience
Yeah.
sitting in this room talking about this
Right,
sheet than
exactly.
Right.
standing in the middle of the
Exactly.
field.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to say if I'm not, oh wait, well, what about this? And maybe we
Right.
should include that or not include that or it's whatever. Because when they purchased Woodbridge Country Club, I mean, I think there was different factors in this. You know what I mean? Also,
Yes,
Maybe
it,
the
it was
town-
being looked at
is the
from.
town going to use
yeah.
it? For is it going to enhance like something for the people to do? I don't know. You know what I mean? So maybe we'll just.
Have they ever had this, Jason? Like, have they ever had anything like this?
There was a rating system when Mike Walters was on the Conservation Commission.
Yeah,
They had
yeah,
developed a
okay,
rating
okay.
system, but we were provided no background behind it. I had to dig quite deeply. Jim,
But did they actually use it?
They did. They came up with ratings for properties.
And did they use it for
The country club?
Do you
I
know?
And to a certain extent
Yeah.
they did, but I mean, they didn't
It
just,
wasn't
they
like
didn't
just
just
hard,
not buy
yeah,
a property
yeah,
because
yeah.
it wasn't top rated. That's
Yeah.
the point I was trying to make.
Right, yeah.
I mean,
I
the
don't.
country club has a great,
It's good
a great,
guidelines, yeah.
you know, habitat for Canada geese. I mean, we saw enough of those.
You know, we saw a lot
Oh
of.
my gosh, yeah.
I had gone back
I don't know what other
through.
habitat it supports.
Yeah, I had gone back through the minutes of the Conservation Commission, trying to pick out the scores. The country club didn't come up on it because the minutes that I'd gone through were after the town acquired the property.
Oh.
So they
Are
had.
there some that are higher than others, for example?
There are. So there was a high score. Now, their ratings are sort of clouded. We don't have clear definitions of how these numbers came about, but the 902 Baldwin property on Baldwin Road,
Mhm.
it's a complicated parcel. It's
Yeah.
over 70 acres, but only 11 is in Woodbridge. The other part's owned, it's in Derby, but it's an entire parcel. That rated very high. Another one that rated high was 356 Rimmon Road. It was 30 acres and it abuts a town parcel. Offhand, I don't remember which one that might be. And then other parcels ended up having. There was one parcel that had 2 scores, same parcel, which made it even more confusing and less helpful.
I know where that is.
I think it was the Warren Road parcel. But yeah, I think it's valuable to go through some exercises of are these appropriately
We could do these when we do our other hikes also, I
Mhm.
mean, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah,
as
it's
far
a
as
good
different
idea.
properties.
Exactly. Yep. Just start using it.
They might not be hikeable, right? I mean, they're not necessarily, right?
Well, no, but what I'm saying is when we do the properties that we already own, we could
Right,
see
right,
what they
right,
would, how
yeah.
they would rate, you know.
Right. All right. So we'll definitely make adjustments. Is everyone comfortable with let's get very specific. So the scales, primary, secondary, and tertiary. If you look at the numbers on that spreadsheet,
Mhm. They're weighted differently.
right, primary goes from 0 to 40,
Yeah.
secondary 0 to 20, tertiary 0 to 10.
Mhm.
Okay, so if the Woodbridge use of property for Woodbridge, like what would you rate? Like for example, just give the first one for an example.
Use of property.
Yeah, I think as we're walking around. So
So I would go and look at what's the definition of use of property?
like,
So-
'cause that's confusing because now what is the use of the property? 'Cause
So-
I don't know. Because are we using it? Are we not?
Well, I mean, so in the
Yeah.
definitions, you've got several categories: primarily natural state, primarily agriculture, residential / commercial.
Can we put, is
resident-
that undecided, or can we put undecided on that one? I guess. So we'll just have to come. Yeah.
Well,
figure
yeah, I mean, it's definitely not agriculture, so
No.
you can strike that off the opportunity list. Residential / commercial use, less
Is
than
it
25.
Recreational? Could it be Is it recreational?
Yeah, I mean, sitting in this room, like I said, is tough to decide. Were I to put a number on it, I would probably give it a score of 2, which is residential commercial use less than 25% land disturbance. Now, I'm not giving it that rating because of residential / commercial use. I'm giving it that rating because less than 25% of the land is disturbed, meaning the pool, clubhouse.
Right.
You could argue that the greenways did disturb the land, which means suddenly it's very disturbed.
Right.
And then the
Which is-
irrigation
you're
that
gonna-
happens.
You're gonna do it. We'll do that. Try to figure it out.
Sure.
Okay.
Are you,
When we walk on at the country club. we
I thought you
can-
said you couldn't make that.
No, she can make
No,
it.
I can make it in the
I
morning.
can't.
I have
The rest of them
something at
can't,
night.
though.
No. Is it if depending if we can walk in the morning? I can go.
The 7th.
Yeah.
Okay. And is that considered a meeting, you know, us
No.
looking at this?
No.
Nope.
Okay.
If all of us were meeting to discuss a very specific thing to do, then yes. But if it's going to be a walk, and while you're walking, you're thinking about conservation things, that's okay.
And would we ever want to encourage maybe 3 people? I know that might be pushing it. We want at least 2, but maybe 3 would be optimal to see if there's a match between 2 people, you know? Or
Yeah, we'll take it as it comes, but
Sure.
yeah.
just
I
Make
wish
it more
I
work
could
for
go.
everybody.
I can't go on that day.
The general rule of thumb on when it's a meeting versus when it's not a meeting is if you're having a conversation of substantial weight about something that would benefit having all of your members present to discuss. Like what you wouldn't want to have happen is the two of you to say, oh yeah, let's change this whole, you wouldn't want to plan what you're going to say at the next meeting and say, we decided
Right.
we're going to do
Okay.
this.
I don't know if I want to do it on that walk. I feel like it'd be kind of just distracting. I think that should be done at a separate time, just to
Okay.
kind
No, that's all right.
of figure it
Okay.
out.
Well, it's getting lighter later. You can have an evening walk at some point.
Okay.
That's brave.
Except for not on that day, because I'm busy that night.
So anyway, back to the scoring and the rating. So everyone's comfortable with the weighting, how that's broken down, and the feeling of keeping things evenly divided. So 7 items in primary, 7 in secondary, 6 in tertiary, roughly, just so that not everything is a primary concern. Okay.
Do you want to discuss those, Tom's, are we going to just leave Tom's suggestion inside the property in second?
I think we'll leave Tom's comments on the table for right now as we're formulating among ourselves. I think it's a good idea. I take no pride of ownership on this. I'm very happy to completely mix it up.
Great. I don't think,
So-
I mess with, but.
I think you did a fantastic job.
So I think
It's a good framework.
Yeah.
It is.
it's a good starting point,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we'll be able to
I
work
think
on it
that's
from
great,
here.
and maybe after we do it, maybe that's a better time, after people walk a little bit to
Mhm.
look at it again.
Okay.
To answer your question, I do like the even distribution.
Yes, I
Thank
also
you.
do.
All right. If there's no other discussion on the rating system, we will hit our last agenda item tonight, Chairman's report. And I have very little to report. The only thing that I was going to mention has to do with a topic this commission started well before I was here, is the Regional Water Authority properties in town. There's buildings on the properties that members of this commission felt were important to save and moved forward with nominating these houses on the Water Authority property to the State Historic Register. So there's a house on Johnson Road. There are 2 on Litchfield Turnpike, and there's 1 on Sperry Road. So originally there were 4. And the Water Authority decided to keep 1 on Litchfield Turnpike, and it's going to fix up the house and use it as offices, an off-site office, which left 3 in horrible shape. And just this evening, there was a public meeting at the center school. There's buyers interested in obtaining these 3 parcels,
Oh,
and the prices of each parcel range between $10,000 and $20,000, I believe. It includes the building and a small lot. I think it's maybe a 2-acre lot, but don't pin me down on it. It's not a big piece of property.
On the water company.
So the water company is carving out these houses from their overall properties.
I don't know. What?
The background on it is that water authority used to rent them.
Oh,
And in, I think it was around 2005, the water authority did not want to be a landlord any longer. So they stopped maintaining the houses and stopped renting them. And you all know what happens when you don't maintain your house and your gutters and your foundations and your roof.
Didn't we consider saving them for historic houses at one point?
So
And then
I think
they
the
weren't worth
original,
saving.
yeah, the original direction that the commission was taking was that they wanted the town to approach the water authority and the town to buy the properties, and then the town to do something with them. I think we're all fairly clear in this room what happens when the town buys a property with the intent of letting it go later. It tends to not go anywhere. So I think the logical step that we tried to follow through on was just getting the houses on the historic register. We started doing that, almost got there, only to find out that the consultant used the wrong paperwork and the terms had changed, and it was going to cost more money to redo the paperwork, and we sort of put the brakes on all of it at that point. It's not to say that the town's historic society couldn't take the work that we had done, give that additional boost of money, and finish the work. That can happen still. And if it does, I think the buyers of these parcels would benefit in some way from that, from having these houses listed on the historic register. But I just wanted to make everybody aware of where that little project that had started at conservation and moved forward in fits and starts and then eventually stalled here has actually moved forward through the guidance of the Historic
Good.
Society.
Do you
in
know
town.
anything more about the terms? Like, have these people agreed to?
I don't know the terms, although the gentlemen that are interested in buying them, I know they're well known in town. They're very historic minded and they like to see historic houses saved. So I don't know what kind of stipulations there would be in the transfer of the properties, but I'm hopeful that it goes to them and they're able to put the houses back right into some historic condition.
That's where it
And
should.
it-
That seems,
Yeah.
$10,000 just seems pretty cheap though.
Yeah,
It's
it
very
does
inexpensive.
Seem
But-
really
That doesn't
reasonable
seem
for
like-
any land in Woodbridge.
I
So
mean,
it's,
that seems like really under, you know.
Undervalued, but
Yeah.
considering that one of the house, well,
Well, but just for a piece of property with anything on it is more than $10,000
Right.
in town, so.
Yeah.
You know, but if they restore it,
yeah,
Yes.
I think the way that the water authority was willing to let these go is that there's going to be some stipulation that the houses cannot be leveled, that they must be restored,
right.
Okay,
and that
And
takes your
that
buyer
makes it a
That
that takes your
yeah.
buyer pool.
That costs
That
a lot
makes
of
a
money,
difference.
right.
Yeah.
If you
That's-
have to heat regional beams and all that, that's gonna cost you
That was my question.
$400,000.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right, okay, I see.
So that's where that stands.
The McDonald's over there on the Water Authority property.
Yeah, the McDonald's on Sperry Road.
Yeah.
Well, I
That'll
had the
attract a
same-
lot of traffic.
I had the same concern. If they were to level the houses and have a couple acre lot in Woodbridge for $10,000, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
There's no way the
Really?
water
It was
authority.
like 100,
They-
I mean.
But seeing as how it's going to be preserved for historic purposes,
I-
that makes all the difference.
I believe
there
that's
should be
the-
that contingency.
I believe that's the intent. Do not strictly quote me on that. I had hoped to attend part of the hearing this evening, but life didn't work out that way. So hopefully I'll get a hold of the Historic Society and see where it landed, just to get a little more info. But
That'd be good.
hopefully it works out and these houses are brought back, because
Yeah.
there's a little bit of local history. I don't know if there's state or national history around these houses, but there's definitely local history tied to them. So that's all I've got for folks. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion. I'll make a
Wait,
motion to
Jason,
adjourn.
I'm sorry,
Wait.
can I just update
Oh.
everybody? So this is
Excuse me.
a really minor FYI. I got mail a couple weeks ago directed to the commission, and this is a very routine thing. The RWA was reapplying for their permit to divert water, and I apologize, I don't remember the details. I read through this very large packet 2 weeks ago. But basically, nothing has changed. They're just letting you all know that they're doing the exact same thing that they've been doing for a couple of years. And part of the permit requires that they notify the Woodbridge Conservation Commission and Inland Wetlands, and same with the commissions in Derby. So if you're interested in reading through all of this, I've got it. But I just part of their requirement is to notify you, so I'm notifying you that they did what they're supposed to do.
An example of diverting the water, I remember going through that last year. What's the name? It's not Oak Lane. It's the one across the street from Oak Lane.
Oh, the little one?
No.
The little one.
Yeah.
Uh,
I was just there.
I know. I can't remember the name of it. It's up.
Rolling Hills. No.
No.
Yes.
Homewood
Homewood.
Acres.
Homewood,
Thank you.
Thank you.
That property slopes down towards the Racebrook Brook
Okay.
or Weppawag. They draw water from that for their purposes, and I think that is something that is notified in there.
Yes.
So that's an example of
That
Uh,
I walked.
a private owner
A
Applies to
private
the-
owner is
applies to
diverting
the-
water from the water company into their property.
Correct.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes. So the diversion of water from the water authority to a private entity for specific reasons. And
And it's
It's
not,
the
there's
same.
no change, it's been going on.
Does
for
anybody,
quite a while.
is any commercial use of this? Are people diverting it to fill up, let's say, pool trucks where they carry water for the, is there any great commercial use of this water? I mean, that's an issue, do you know? Or
Not
would it
that
all-
I saw
not
when I
that you
was
know.
reading through this, no.
Yeah.
And if it is, it's been going on for a while, there's no
There's no
There's no
change
new
or-
information in
no-
this permit.
no-
They're just going through the motions to stay compliant. So,
okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
that's it.
Sorry. Frank, your motion.
Motion to adjourn.
All right. Second?
He's done. That's great.
Tracy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, everybody. Time to go home.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.